Hi, good afternoon. Let me turn down my music. My name is Laura, and I have initiated a project called the Daily Grid. Many of you may have seen it already, and it's essentially I've made a commitment to every day sit down with my crystals and various other natural objects and create either a crystal grid or a mandala or a layout of some kind. Um, every day it's a piece of vibrational art. So if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate you following me on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/dailygrid. So aside from that, whether you've seen my work or not, I have gotten a lot of questions. What is the difference between a mandala and a grid? Or what is a grid? How do you make a crystal grid? So today I'm going to primarily address the question, what is the difference between a mandala or a layout or a piece of vibrational art and a grid, an actual crystal grid? And nestled in there will be kind of an example or an understanding of what a crystal grid is. Um, so when I say vibrational art, there are various natural objects in our environment, whether those be plant materials or whether those be mineral materials or shells, pearls, anything. Feathers are just a few of the things that I use. And they all carry their own different energies. So what makes crystals a little bit different is their molecular structure. So crystals are completely solid. Like a quartz crystal is about a 7, I think, 6 something or 7 on the Mohs hardness scale, whereas a diamond is like the highest, which I think is 9, maybe 10. But anyways, so it's a very hard solid, but on a molecular level, it's geometrically organized and very cohesive, and it has repetitive geometric forms. So, not to go too deep into it, it's a very good transmitter, storage device, and amplifier of information. So we can put information in it, and that's the idea behind its power in making a crystal grid. And a mandala, or another piece of vibrational art, it could be any kind of object and maybe placed any creative or intuitive way. So I went ahead and set up, I'm going to show you, 2 pieces just to make it visual. All right, so over here, this is all quartz crystals, different kinds, but these are all quartz crystals. And essentially, this is a grid. What makes it a grid is that it's geometric. And I could go into more details of why I made this a hexagon. And that's because, what am I trying to say here? Because in the molecular structure of a quartz crystal, it is hexagonal. So to make a grid that's 6-sided with a crystal whose molecules are 6-sided creates a very cohesive communication device. So you can see I used 6 crystals, 6 crystals on the outside, 6 crystals pointing to the generator, and then a quartz crystal in the middle. So that's a very basic example. This is a crystal grid. Crystal grids are geometric, generally symmetrical. They're a little bit more mathematic. They're a little bit more technical, okay? And this over here would be considered more of a mandala. So mandalas are a type of art that has been used throughout history in a lot of different cultures. And it's just kind of a general term that refers to art that is centralized, radial and symmetrical. So it's something that's round and kind of flowers out in patterns and in shapes and in colors. And you'll see this throughout history in many different types of art. Mandalas as well are used a lot for altars. They're used a lot even for like therapeutic healing. Drawing mandalas or creating mandalas with various objects is very healing. So both of these setups are very powerful in their own way, but they are different. So while I kind of see a crystal grid as a little bit more the tool of the alchemist, it's a communication device, it's a little bit more geometry, a little bit more science, a little bit more math. It's a little bit more left-brained, in that sense. It's a little bit more logical, but it's still beautiful, it's still intuitive, and it's still art. So it has that balance of the male and female energies. And in that same vein, the mandala is a little bit more on the feminine side of things. It's a little bit more intuitive. It's a little bit more free form. It's a little bit more creative. There aren't really any rules per se. My vibrational art isn't even always a mandala. Sometimes it's shaped like a flower, or sometimes it's elongated, or sometimes it looks like a face, or whatever. There's no limitations there. But with a crystal grid, we can put a specific information or a specific intention into it and use this to communicate that information to the universe and to magnetize and to magnify that energy. Whereas a mandala, yes, it magnifies the intention, it magnifies the prayer. I personally use mandalas for prayer as an altar, like a ritual altar, to attract different kinds of elemental energies. Here you can see I have like a shell and pearls, so that's very feminine, that's very water element, that's very soft, it's very like receptive. And then I do also have quartz crystal points, so that kind of adds that like magnification and that directing of energy. And I'm going to add some other things to it. This is probably going to be the daily grid for today. But yeah, I wanted to keep this video short, so I'll do subsequent videos on different topics, like the different technologies of grids and things like that. But so in retrospect, when we're talking about a piece of vibrational art, there are no boundaries. That's the point of the daily grid. I encourage anybody who it resonates with to sit down and make something every day. Make something with the intention of creating something. Just to do it, And some of the mandalas I've made have been every bit as powerful and effective for manifesting as a grid has. They're just different techniques of energy art. And like I said, whereas the grid is a little bit more geometric, it's a little bit more precise, it's a little bit more logical and strategic, a mandala is a little bit more artistic, a little bit more freeform, a little bit more feminine, a little bit more loose. So I hope that answers that question. Feel free to leave comments below, and I'm also going to leave the link to the Facebook page where I'm posting a piece of art every day. I hope that you'll follow me on there. I hope that this was helpful, just answering that basic question. So thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful day.